In your manuals, these are new manuals, so I apologize, I have to rememorize the pages, but I think it's page 12. 12? Yes. On page 12 in your manual, you will see this 21st Century Rainbow. And we've been talking about 21st century skills for a while now, but still, when I travel the state, I find that people will either, if I ask them about what a 21st century classroom looks like, I either get sort of a glazed look back, or they talk to me about technology. And certainly technology is an important part of what we're talking about here, but it's only one part. On pages 12 to 16 in your manual, there is a good description, a beginning point of understanding 21st century skills. It's not everything you and your teachers need to know, but it's a starting point to more clearly define what we're talking about. Let's take a look at this rainbow. The inside of the rainbow tells us what it is we need to be teaching. We need to be teaching the core subjects and the 21st century themes. Those themes are listed on the bottom of page 12. Global literacy, entrepreneurial literacy, etc. Now, as a principal, when I first saw this, I said, you've got to be kidding me. We barely have enough time now to teach the core subject areas. How on earth are we going to also add these 21st century themes into what we're doing? The way that we are going to successfully be able to do it is if we teach differently. We need to teach everything we teach through these three sets of skills, through life and career skills, learning and innovation skills, and information, media, and technology skills. Is technology an important part of 21st century skills? Yes, absolutely. But it's only 1/3 of the parts that we're talking about. These other skills, which include things like creative thinking and problem solving, are also 21st century skills that need to be happening. There was a time when in education, the teacher's role was to be the person that presented knowledge and facts to our kids. We didn't even have FM radio. That didn't debut until like the 60s or 70s. There were not a lot of good information sources. So the teacher was the holder of the knowledge. The kids would come to school, the teacher would share that knowledge and facts, the kids would memorize it and give it back. That was the primary role of the teacher. That is not the role of the teacher anymore. Now, instead of being the keeper of the facts, the teacher is the facilitator of learning. The teacher's role is to facilitate the students' learning, teaching them how to think, how to process, how to analyze. They don't need to be the holder of the facts and information. We don't need to spend 3 weeks memorizing the state capitals when the kids can look it up on the internet in 30 seconds and find out the state capital if they need to know it. Instead, our kids need to understand what to do with all that information. So these skills are how we need to teach the content that we're talking about. Now at the base of the rainbow, these are the things that have to be in place for us to be successful in accomplishing the work within the rainbow. Notice that the foundation includes standards and assessments. You're here because we have new standards and assessments for the employees. We have new standards and evaluation systems for all North Carolina employees. We're also working on the standards and assessments for students. Now, you would laugh me out of this room if I tried to tell you that the EOG and EOC tests that you just gave last spring were 21st century. They're nowhere near 21st century. They're far removed from it. But I can tell you that they are diligently working on changing our standards and assessment processes in North Carolina to align with the 21st century skills we're talking about. And over the next 3 to 4 years, you will see significant changes in how we assess students in North Carolina. The second part of the base is the curriculum and instruction. That too is being redesigned. If you have not recently gone to the DPI website and taken a look at the work that they're doing on the essential standards, I encourage you and your teachers to do exactly that. Because in a short period of time, they're going to be sending that work out to schools. And it's going to tell you, this is what you teach when you're in 3rd grade. This is what you teach when you're teaching algebra. This is what you teach when you're teaching kindergarten. If your teachers want input into that, now is the time. When they send it out later, it'll be too late. So a teacher coming to you saying, wait a minute, you can't possibly cover this in 5th grade. 6 months from now, it's too late. Now is when they're collecting the feedback. So if you haven't taken a look at what they've come up with all those essential standards, I encourage you to do so, because here's your chance to have your input. The next piece on the foundation is the professional development. These instruments will significantly change how we look at professional development. In the past, we've often used professional development to send people to a conference or a one-day shot. You go here and hear it for a few hours, and hopefully you bring it back. The professional development now, as soon as we have money again for professional development, the professional development will be directly tied to the performance of the employees on their evaluation instrument. You will be attending professional development that helps you grow on your evaluation instrument. There's a direct correlation there now. And finally, look at what the largest part of the foundation is. The biggest part of the foundation to make this successful, learning environments. We are very clear that we can only be successful if we create professional learning communities that allow for us to take risks, to be collaborating and talking about what we're doing, sharing ideas, recognizing what doesn't work, and analyzing what is working for us. The learning communities are a big part of all of the standards and evaluation instruments, so you're going to hear me talk about it a lot over the next 2 days. Now, over the next few pages, 12 to 16, there are more details about these 21st century skills. I'm not going to read all of this to you now, but I want you to know it's there so that as we talk about 21st century skills, if you need to refer back to it because you say, I don't know what she means when she's talking about global awareness or learning skills, you've got them there to refer to. Or worst case scenario, if you have trouble falling asleep tonight, you're welcome to pull that out too. It might help you just a little bit. All right, so let's go just a little bit of background before we take a break this morning. We had standards in place. How many of you are familiar with the NCAT standards that we had? Yes, okay, those are gone now. Originally, the state board looked at the information that I shared with you about graduation rates. In fact, it was worse at the time they were looking at it. We were only graduating about 60 out of 100 kids. They looked at that and said, there's a disconnect here. Something is seriously wrong. We need to take a look at our standards for expectations. So what they said was, let's put a commission together to turn our standards into 21st century standards. So they put together a commission of 16 practicing educators, superintendents, principals, and teachers, who with the direction of Carolyn McKinney at DPI, worked on the standards. They scheduled 2 meetings. They were going to add technology into the standards and make them 21st century. What ended up happening was as soon as they looked at the standards, they found you can't just add technology and make these 21st century. There was too much work to be done. So instead of 2 meetings, they ended up meeting sometimes 2 and 3 times a week for 6 months. Imagine volunteering to be on that committee. Yeah, we're only going to have 2 meetings, right? They worked hard for 6 months and came up with these new standards, presented them to the board in March of 2007. In June of 2007, the board approved them. Nice, shiny little packets of standards were mailed out to all principals. I was a principal at the time. We all got our package of standards. Unfortunately, they didn't come with any real directions or what to do with them or training or anything like that. So what do you think happened to all those packets of standards? Yeah, they were shelved, maybe recycling them, whatever it might be. What that means for us now, we have an evaluation instrument that uses those standards, but we have to go back and teach the standards first. So that's why your teacher training is a 2-day training. Your teachers need to know the standards before we can do the evaluation instrument, okay? So what's the biggest difference between those old standards that I'm talking about and these new ones? One of the biggest differences is the alignment that happens. We used to have standards for principals and standards for teachers. And if you were to read the old list of standards for both of those, you would hardly know that they were in the same profession. There was not a correlation between them. In the new standards, all of them align. What we are asking of the superintendent, we're asking of principals. What we're asking of principals, we're asking of APs. What we're asking of administration, we're asking of teachers. They all align. You will see professional learning communities as an expectation for everyone. That alignment is important because it brings us all together and puts us all on the same page. They are all 21st century skills. You will see that throughout all of it.